Hello fellow geeks and welcome to CityOfGeek.com's newest series, Seen Them All, in which one of us, today being me, but it could be Cody, Kim, or Tony, depending on what they're up to, will be going through an entire series, both television and movies, and talking or writing about them, because this could be a written series as well. This very first one will be all video, as you are watching a video of it, right? And as we go through these series, it could be things we've never seen before and kind of watching it for the first time as they go, favorite series we're rewatching, or some sort of mixture, because there's a lot of things I have seen a couple of but not all of, and now when I go through and watch them all, I can stop in and have little mini reviews essentially of everything. After I watch the movie, I'm going to do a little recording or write a little bit about it. So everything will be a little shorter than the regular thing, more like the short takes we have on the website, which you can check that out, which we all write a little bit of what we're watching. And sometimes this will be a binge, which is sit down and watch everything in one go, and sometimes it'll be spread out depending on time, interest, ability. While many of these may cover series that are longer, such as like the zillion and one Children of the Corn movies, the 9 or 10 Hellraisers, and other things that are usually horror, we're starting out with a shorter series just so we kind of get the hang of it, get you guys in here, along with the new film in the series will be coming out a couple days after this video is posted, with the review of the new film at the end as well. So check that out if you want to see what my thoughts are on that movie. So what are we talking about? We're talking about the LEGO theatrical features. Within the LEGO series, we are focusing just on the theatrical features that have come out so far. The LEGO movie, the LEGO Batman movie, the LEGO Ninjago movie, and the new LEGO movie 2. The second part, which comes out February 8th, as I mentioned. If we expanded the entirety of the LEGO series, that would be way too long. There's so many things. They've usually, there's various releases for intellectual properties that they have, such as Star Wars. There's lots and lots and lots of Star Wars LEGO stuff. And then there's also Jurassic Park, which is the two that I currently have here. But there are other ones, including some stuff from their own releases, such as Bionicle. So let's get going and jump into the LEGO movie. Everyone sing with me. Everything is awesome. This movie is surprisingly good. It could have been a cash grab, but here we are. It's so good. Fuck it. I'm not a songwriter, and I'm not a singer, because everyone just turned this off, didn't you? Thank you for staying and listening to my singing. I've actually been on stage doing singing performances before. Weird. I guess they really needed people. So the LEGO movie was released in 2014. It's directed and written by Philip Lord and Chris Miller, who've done a great body of work over the course of the years they've been in Hollywood, before and after the LEGO movie. This video is, of course, about the LEGO movie, so I'm not going to get too much about the previous work of Lord and Miller, except to throw out Clone High from 2002. It's kind of hard to find. I only played for one season on MTV, and it's absolutely fantastic. Great writing. It's hilarious. A lot of the voices of people that you will see later on within the rest of their work and other people's work. So Will Forte, for one. There's actually a reference to Clone High in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which they've of course produced. They're also famous for getting fired from Solo. They made The Last Man on Earth with Will Forte, as I mentioned there. 21, 22 Jump Street. And they've been working on the LEGO movies as well as producer. But here they're writing and directing, and they created such a brilliant product that we would never expected. When a LEGO movie was announced, everyone kind of grumbled, thinking this is going to be a corporate cash grab. You could throw it out there, make a few bucks, buy my toys, buy my book, buy my book. There's an old reference. But to everyone's surprise, LEGO movie was fresh, hilarious, lot of heart, incredibly charming, though it does still have the corporate culture nature of it. At the beginning we were talking about the song Everything is Awesome is about conforming to culture, and LEGO products, of course, are featured continually and are sold in the stores and makes you want to go out and buy them all. So buy me, buy me, buy me. But it also subverts that in many ways. It's about the creativity of youth, and remembering that as you become an adult, looking into how to still make your Legos. And I think it's a fantastic message of don't just build the Millennium Falcon, which of course mentioned, and one of their properties, but also of just building the thing that strikes you, finding your level of creativity when it comes to LEGO products or any other toys. Our focus here, of course, is LEGO, but it doesn't just throw those out there and say buy me. In fact, it's weird that corporate nature is the villain here. Will Ferrell voicing Lord Business is both a businessman who's trying to take away all the creativity of the world, trying to bring everyone to exactly what he wants and what he's looking for, and cutting down the little man, in this case the little minifigs, right, of Emmett and everyone. And it's really odd coming from a giant corporation such as Warner Brothers or Lego, which is known to be one of the good companies, that they do have a really high quality level they try and match, but they're also shameless with their shilling of buying up all the properties and releasing Legos for an incredibly high price that prices out a lot of people who want to go out and buy what they want. Every time I go to Target, I look, I'm like, it's just outside, maybe it's $10 less. I get that. Luckily, much of my wife's chagrin, because I have too much stuff here, as you can see. And oddly, if I don't have a lot of Legos, the only Lego I can think of in the house is this TIE Fighter that was like $2 at Target once. I need to buy more, but I don't really have the space. Everything here is filled up, as you can see. I do have a lot of Funko type guys, but they take up a little less space, and they cost a lot less than Legos do. Outside corporate versus individual, it really falls a lot into the hero's journey and subverting the nature of the hero's journey and the expectations for a movie like this. For like children's movies, families movies, you have the person who wants to be something bigger. They have their song about it, and they look for the new way that they're going to change the world. And that kind of happens for Emmett. But more if he just wants to be himself, wants to be friends, and by finding friends and finding people, he finds out he's the special, and find out he's not the special, and everyone's the special, because it's a made-up prophecy that Morgan Freeman's character gives out. He's the sage is defined along the way, and of course who dies in the third act, as the sage character will, as we go through the hero's journey. It's subverting the hero's journey plus still following with it, but also bringing in how great it is for everyone to be creative. And that's what Legos are about, is being creative. Even if you're buying the TIE Fighter, I can take this apart and make my own little thing here. Lord and Miller put together a great voice cast with Chris Pratt, Elizabeth Banks, Nick Offerman, a bunch of side characters, but Channing Tatum and Will Forte being one-off characters of Superman and Lincoln. And it's any comic actor you can probably think of is there in some way, just pop in and do a line and take it off. But outside the voice acting, the real star of the show is the animation. Many people thought it'd be stop motion, and occasionally times they look like they're trying to go that, but that would be really hard to process because these worlds are big, they're incredibly detailed. Like Bricksburg isn't just someone's thing on my desk, it's this giant metropolis. And though technically it is on ping pong tables in the basement for the actual part of the movie, for the real life stuff, the animated is so massive and so huge, and the way everything's moving and the way everything works together, there's no way in hell you could have stop motion animated this without taking 35 years to make. By making it computerized but still having it look like it's Legos moving around, it gets the best of both worlds. In fact, I think a lot of the stuff wouldn't work as solid as stop motion. We do get the gags with that, with the people jumping and they go and the stop and come back. But the fluidity of like such as like the water sequences look really cool, the way that everything builds, everyone moves. You need to have that fluid in order to keep it going for the 105 minutes that this movie is. Ultimately, what makes the movie work and be more than just a standard cash grab amongst everything else, all the other work that they're putting into it, is the heart that comes to the story, in which it isn't just a Lego verse. It's the story of a kid coming to terms with his dad and how his relationship with his dad, as it turns out, it really takes place in the basement of a suburban house where the dad is building these figures and saying, don't touch. I'm building this for me. I'm going to freeze these as they are. I'm following the instructions, and the kid wants to do his creative work and he wants to connect with his dad. And so it's really sweet in which he's connecting with his dad through the same thing his dad loves. His dad's also played by Will Ferrell. The kid's playing by, I think his name is Jaden Smith, Jaden Sands, one of the two. You can look that up. I can put it down there if I want to, if I'm not feeling lazy. But that really drives home a lot more of the plot, because the kid is using this to talk to his dad, especially as the dad figures out what's happening and comes down and interrupts the story to say, what are you doing to my figures? What story are you telling here? And that really grounds the movie, and it gives it a really solid heart, because you can see where everything is coming from, everything else in the film. Watching it again, this is like the third or fourth time I've watched it since it came out. Watching it again with my wife before the Lego Movie 2 coming out here soon, there's a line towards the beginning where Lord Business says, Taco Tuesday, everyone gets a taco. and earns my love, or can earn my love, or something like that. So knowing that the distance of the father is having to the son and the trouble connecting, that comes through early on, and it kind of brings a sadness to the movie in a way. But we've all felt that, especially as a kid, not connecting with the business parent who's away, who comes back, you know, occasionally at night, and you have this sort of interactions and how you see your father. But completely, like, to wrap up this segment before we move into the other movies, the Lego Movie is surprisingly brilliant. Could have been easy, one and done, like the Angry Bird movie or Emoji, things that are obviously made for the quick buck. But there's a lot of detail, a lot of heart, a lot of care put into making a solid script with great performances, have a great look, and have a strong heart to it that makes it a movie really worth seeing. I'm Batman, and welcome back to the review for the Lego series of Lego Batman. I'm really just Ben Affleck, but close enough. So Lego Batman was a breakout character in the first Lego movie, voiced by Will Arnett, to great acclaim. He kind of stole the movie with his broodiness and taking jokes about everyone's favorite gritty, broody DC hero, and they decided to make him into his own movie because Lord knows we need another Batman movie. But even though we might joke we don't need another Batman movie, this one, now produced by Lord and Miller, not directed or written by Chris McKenna, directed by Chris McKay, is actually my favorite of the Batman movies. That and Batman Returns continue to be tied with me depending on how I look at it. I think Batman Returns works as a movie on its own better, but this works as a great exploration of everything Batman. Batman's been around since 1939, and he's had so much history, so much weirdness, so much super seriousness later on. Looking at the entire history of Batman on film and in comics, and film being the 1940s ones that came out in serial form, which I do have a couple of, and they're awful. And there's also the whole riff tracks of one of the series in there, going through the 60s television show to the Schumacher and Burton ones, to the Chris Nolan, to the now, taking out everything in the series, looking at it with a funny look to see how it all comes together, because strangely enough, all those continuities are still active in various ways for this version of Batman. It's not just to make fun of him, it's a loving tribute. It's a completely loving tribute of all this, of all the silly villains he's had, they all get name checked along the way. You get, just like they did with Chris Miller and Phil Lord did with Spider-Man last year. They're just looking at the entire history and just having fun with it, and just showing how great this character is and how well done and why he's such a beloved character. Plot-wise, we have Joker, voiced by Jack Galifianakis, mad at Batman because he's not giving him the love that he thinks he gets. They should be his best enemy, and taking that bro friendship thing, frenemies, and saying, well, fine, if you're not going to do this, if I'm not your villain, because according to Batman, Superman is the main villain, because Batman vs. Superman came out the year before, so that's still in everyone's minds, I'm going to get all the worst villains and declare myself the best villain of all time. And doing so, he goes to the Phantom Zone and brings out all these Warner Brothers linked villains, including Sauron, the Wicked Witch of the West, King Kong, and a whole bunch of other people, creating this big meta-contextual take on villainy, along with just using the format to its best advantage. Because you couldn't take something like this as a